actual property search page. So this is where, if I'm a consumer, I get to enter in what city, what state I want, my price range, listing type, whether it be rentals, foreclosures, homes for sale. I click search, and the beauty of this to me as a consumer is I get search results that aren't just general websites, but they're actual listings that fall into the criteria that I've already, laid out. So I jumped from Yahoo to Trulia just to kind of show you this, but this is what we see consumers actually searching on. So where do your properties come from? How do they get there on these different search sites, these different property search sites? That is where listing syndication comes into play and where ListHub comes into play. Our job is to basically feed your listings to sites that display properties so that consumers can find them. That is in a nutshell what we do. But we think we do it better than anybody else, and I'm going to tell you why, and why we think that this is great, that that ListHub is a benefit for you all. What we always talk about is, I think it's kind of a no-brainer that we know that your listing should be online. We know that that's where the consumers are, and I think these points just kind of drive it home. The question, though, that I find that many brokers still have is, what's the best way? How do I market my listings online? What are maybe the best sites to display my properties on? There's so many products out there, so many technologies. It can sometimes be overwhelming, I think. And so, really, I think that brokers need a partner. They need somebody to kind of help them be effective online so that you don't have to spend tons of time becoming experts, complete experts in this type of a field. We want to kind of help you out in that regard. So this is how ListHub works. Now remember I said we're a listing syndication service. What happens, how many of you use a different listing syndication service right now? Or you know that your maybe website provider is sending your listings to Google or Trulia or Yahoo or something like that. Right, it's pretty common practice, right? Well, ListHub is a little bit different because what we do is we connect directly into the MLS so that there's basically no additional work you have to do. So say, for example, you or one of your agents gets a new listing. Obviously, they have to put it into the MLS. It's what we've always had to do. The main thing about what ListHub does is that we, on a daily basis, pull this new listing data or price changes, anything that's new, and we will syndicate it or send it out to a variety of websites on your behalf. And when I say variety, I'm talking we have about 30 sites right now that we send out to, and there are really no other services that can send out to that many on your behalf. So that's what we are. We're a listing hub in essence. So we're one program that takes your listings and sends them out to all kinds of different search sites so that the consumer eyeballs can find them. So then, when buyers find your listings, they, when they're searching online and they find your listing, another thing that ListHub does for you is we allow you actually to control the redirection or where the consumer goes. So if I find your listing on Trulia and I see the little thumbnail sketch, but I want more information, ListHub will either provide a page, a detailed property page that pulls directly from the MLS, so you don't have to manage it at all, or the other option is that we can also redirect to your company website. So if you would prefer to have the consumer follow on a detailed property page within your website, if you spend a lot of money on that, and we can do that for you as well. Another thing that ListHub can do is provide you reports and metrics, but I'm going to talk about that in a second. Here's an example of the ListHub hosted property page, just to kind of give you an idea. As I mentioned before, this information, photos, description, virtual tour, they all pull from the MLS directly. So if you can put, how many photos can you guys put in the MLS? 12. Okay, so you can put 12 in, we can pull 12, all 12 for you. This is a bad example. I've got 2 photos right here, sorry. It also pulls the remarks, it'll pull the listing agent information, the broker contact information, and what's kind of nice about these pages are that we have kind of built into them little links meant to kind of get a consumer to leave their information so that you can have a lead. These links say, request more photos, ask a question, schedule a showing. If an online consumer were to click one of those, they would get a little web form where they could ask their question. Sometimes it's an email, and they'd have to enter their information, and then that information would go directly to the listing agent via email. That's what we consider to be a lead, because they have actually left their contact information and it's gone to you. So that's an internet lead. The other option, again, is that we can redirect the consumer to your website. Now, everything that I've talked to you up to this point is completely free. It is a member benefit that you have right now through the MLS. If your MLS isn't registered with ListHub because we're directly connected, you don't have the capability to do this. So it's a great value, I think, to really increase your listing exposure. There's no cost, there's really no work. This is a beautiful thing, I think. Once you set up ListHub, you can kind of set up your settings and how you want things to, if you want us to redirect to your website, if you want to use like a lead routing system, there's some options you have upon setup, but then it should happen behind the scenes for you. Anytime you enter a new listing into the MLS, or if you change a listing, we take that information and we refresh it on a daily basis so that it will go out to all 30 sites. And I say 30, but we add to that number constantly, so you'll always have as broad of an exposure as possible. So we send those out if you have any changes, any updates. The beautiful thing about ListHub is that you don't have to manually enter the data. In many other syndication services out there that you or your agents may be using, there's required some sort of a manual process, whether it be you have to let them know that you have a new listing or you enter a form or something like that. If it's changed, you have to update them of that information. And so with that comes, it's time consuming for one thing. And also, another thing that is becoming a little bit of an issue, I think, online is that we have a lot of outdated, bad data out there. If you forget to, say a property is sold, the status changes, and somebody doesn't update one of those listing services manually, you may have something happen to you, like this nice little woman in Missouri when I was there. She got a call on a listing that she had sold in 2005 because it was still out there on the internet and a buyer found it. So we don't want that to happen. And with ListHub, because we're directly MLS connected, you can kind of rest assured that the most recent data is being sent out there on your behalf. So that's important. Free leads, you can drive your web traffic wherever you would like to. You also have the control over which sites you would like to go to. You could either have us syndicate to all 30 or all 35, whatever we have in the next coming years, or if you have specific, you have specific sites you want to be on, specific sites you don't want to be on. We believe that your listings, you should be able to control where they're going. You should also know where they're going. We won't work with just anybody. We have hundreds and hundreds of different websites that want us to feed them the listing information, but they have to go through some rigorous criteria to work with us. They have to be national. They have to agree to not re-syndicate any of your data. I don't know if the re-syndication is just kind of a common practice. You may be